Hi, okay, so we're on Tree of Life, before I forget, chapter 5, Kabbalah. We're at the Abyss, and I want to talk about the Abyss for a minute, just to clarify some things or, get all information is good information. There's a lot of information about the Abyss. It's everywhere. I don't want to get too lost and make the video too long. So I'm going to start at the part in chapter 5 right after we explain the supernals, where we go into the Abyss, which is in between the Absolute realm and the realm of Bria. So we've already got all of the Absolute realm energies explained. Before we get into the Bria realm energies, I want to talk about the Abyss, which is in between them, okay? Okay, so from the book. In the Jewish mysticism version of Kabbalah, the Zohar explains that there were several failed attempts to manifest spirits into realities, for the spirit to get to the body, the long epic journey it had to take. Some of those didn't make it. They gotta try again. Okay, but this occurs when there's an imbalance of energies in the Sephirah. This is how you know all life is created perfectly. The name for these leftover energies or wasted energies is qlippoth. Starts with a Q. It's a Hebrew word. It literally means shells or husks, or peels. It's in Hermetic Kabbalah. It is described as empty shells. This is a category of things, really. It's not a thing in general. Empty shells are everywhere. like a snake sheds its skin, like dogs shed their fur. These are empty shells, but on a small level. On a spiritual level, empty shells are like our locus, our bodies that we don't use anymore. Your physical body, when your physical body dies and your spirit leaves it, your physical body is now qlippoth. It's an empty shell. And those empty shells are, there's still energy. It's not being utilized anymore, but it's still energy. It has to go somewhere. Energy can't be destroyed. Only transformed or transmuted. So these empty shells are supposedly collected into the Abyss. That's its purpose, is to hold the empty shells. That's it. It's literally a bucket that all of the empty shells get dumped into. As it takes your body a while to decay into the earth, your spiritual bodies, they hang out on the plane you left them in when you ascend. It's not, an accident that it happens here. It happens everywhere. Everything has correspondence on every plane, and there's a version of everything everywhere. All the multiverse is different parallel universes, and they all have a version of everything. The same, Okay, so qlippoth is controversial because, depending on who you ask, you'll get a different answer about what it is. But the Hermetic version teaches it's just empty shells. It could be anything. It has no will of its own. It's just leftover energy. So, when you have Midrash involved, or when you have, the telephone game and legends sort of get elaborated and fused together, and, in Egypt they used to, the old Titan gods were, meshed into the newer gods, and then they shared a name, Amen-Ra. That was two gods that were squished into one god, and the Hebrews did it too, and so did the Sumerians. It was common. But in the Jewish mysticism version of the Tree of Life, qlippoth are the polar opposite, evil twin Sephirah of the Sephirah of the Tree of Life. So each Sephirah has its evil twin, and I say that they all have their misunderstandings, that cause fear, and those are naturally created, along with them, parallel, but those are, concepts that we create here. Those weren't born with them. The qlippoth in Jewish mysticism is born with each Sephirah. Tiferet has its own evil twin. Shesed has its own evil twin, and they are given names, Satan, that's where Satan comes from. Molech, Lucifuge. Okay, Lucifuge meaning the one who flees light, whereas Lucifer is the light bringer. So they're polar opposites, they're it's the degrees of the same thing, but they are created together as a pair because everything is created in duality. So these are, you know, not what the Hermetic Kabbalah teaches. It's, you know, literally just empty shells. So it's not, you know, scary or intimidating in any way. It's literally just your body that you left behind. But there are circumstances where it could be kind of troublesome. Like, you know, that's where you get horror movies and, you know, evil demons, and, you know, demonology really got into this whole qlippoth dark tree life situation. And, you know, you got a lot of scary movies, you know, even nowadays, that reflect these creatures that were created from this concept of the polar opposite darkness side of the tree of life, which is cool to see, like, the evolution of our thought process, and has the generations take the old knowledge and use it and, you know, make money off of it. I mean, horror movies are where it's at, you know what I'm saying? But all those demons came from somewhere. There's nothing new under the sun. Everything come from somewhere. You don't know where you're going if you don't know where you've been. And hell, sometimes you don't even know where you are. You don't even know you've been there before. So, you know, pay attention. That's all I got to say. Okay, so qlippoth. The example of qlippoth that I can give you from the Bible, which is probably your more, you know, comfortable reference, Hebrew-wise and occult-wise, you know, the beginner's only concept of demonology and whatnot, the Bible. So Samuel dies. Samuel's the advisor to the king of the Hebrews, Saul, King Saul. And this is right before King David, you know, all that. So Saul is conflicted about this whole David situation and Jonathan, his son, and da-da-da. So he needs to talk to his advisor. His advisor's dead. You know, sucks to be you. So he knows his time is ending, and, you know, shit's gonna hit the fan really quickly. He doesn't know what to do. He's freaking out. He's old. He goes to a medium, the Witch of Endor. I think this is in 2 Kings, 1 Kings, something like that. And it's in the Old Testament. One of those books the pastor always skips over because it's boring. But in these boring books at the beginning of the Bible, you get a lot of information, Jewish law, you know, customs. You get a feel for the time. Anyway, he goes to this witch, and she's a medium, you know, and she legitimately is just like, what do you need, king? And he's like, I need to talk to my dead friend. Call him up. We gotta hatch something out real quick. And she's like, okay, you know, so she sits him down and she does her seance, you know, her like reaching out type deal. And it's not like it's portrayed in the movies now. It's like literally she's a medium. She is so in touch with the universe and her energy so connected into it. She can jump planes consciously. She can literally will her spirit out of her physical body and into the astral plane and still retain that information when she gets back, which is incredible. You know, it takes practice, and not everybody can do it, and not everybody can do it right away, you know, but if you know how, there's your start. Anyway, it's not like evil or anything. It's literally just, you know, metaphysics. It's physics on a spiritual level. So demonize that you want to, but when you're in the astral plane, you can talk to whatever's there. I mean, legitimately, whatever's there, the chair, you can talk to, like, if you wanted to, you know what I'm saying? Because you don't communicate with words. You communicate with emotion, and everything is energy, and everything has emotion. So anyway, he talks to Samuel, and Samuel tells him, dude, you fucked up. Sorry, I can see it. Like, I told you shit was gonna happen. You fucked up. You know, just suck it up and take it. But anyway, my point is that, you know, Samuel, through the medium, communicated to the physical plane. And this is a thing that King Saul sought out, you know. He got in a car, made a trip. So obviously it was important, and it was normal, you know, like it was, nobody was surprised that this was possible. Nobody was like, oh, that's crazy witchcraft, da da da. They were like, look, why do you think every king always had a soothsayer or a priest or some type of, you know, sorcerer at his right hand? Like, those people were connected to the other realms. They knew what was up. I mean, it was normal back then. And we, you know, gotten away from that, from the dark ages and stuff. But we're getting there. We're coming back up. So my thing is, the way that qlippoth works, in the hermetic Kabbalah, qlippoth is just empty shells. It's not, the qlippoth in that situation would not have been Samuel. It would have been the astral body Samuel resided in on the astral plane once Samuel has left and ascended up into a higher spiritual plane. So that body stays there for a while and rots, just like the physical body does on Earth. So any other energy could pick up that, DNA off of that, or astral DNA out of that astral body, and taking the shape or form, because, all is mind up there. It's all, you could form into whatever you want to be. I mean, they could take the shape or form of Samuel and come talk to you, and just through the medium, just to fuck with you, just to mess with you for no other reason than just to mess with you, because they have nothing else to do. They haven't ascended yet. They're stuck on this plane. Maybe they figured it out. Maybe they didn't. But, there are elemental spirits, that like goblins, and, they like to mess with you and they'll do it like that. I mean, your lights flicker in your house. You don't know where it came from. Random knock on your door. What was that? Book flies off a shelf. Where'd that come from? Sometimes that's elementals, and they like to mess with you. And they're, they're harmless. They just don't, either they really don't, they're like cats, they either really don't care for people, or, they're always fucking shit up. But yeah, so in the abyss, there are these empty shells, and, the empty shells are, remnants of the life before it. And, it sort of is a really telling separation between fire and water, like the wasteland between fire and water. Like, that's what it would take to separate those two energies. But qlippoth is, it shouldn't be scary. It's not the Wicker Man, it's not Satan, it's not Moloch, it's just a place of memories, memory bank, experience learned, moving on. But, once you get past the abyss, you're in the realm of Bria, you're in water, and everything is emotional, and everything is, I think I wanted to talk about how, the abyss has been turned into this pit of hell. Yeah, okay, so that's the next part. And they supposedly collect into the abyss. Some cultures, which have a more recent perspective, have turned the abyss into a pit of hell. This is the combination of Dante Alighieri's Inferno and the Archangel prison from Milton's Paradise Lost. Okay, the Inferno is an epic poem by Dante Alighieri, Italian fellow. Sorry if I really screwed up his name. It's so beautiful, but it's creepy. It describes the 7 realms of hell. This guy is it starts out midway through the journey of our life, I found myself in a forest dark because the straightforward pathway had been lost. It starts like that, and it's beautiful. And it's creepy, he runs into all these different people in these different realms of hell as he progresses through hell, and they're all in there for different reasons, and they all tell him, we did this to ourselves, this was us, but they tell him, you can't help us, there's nothing you can do. And he was in a dream state, so astral body, but it was, while he was still living. But the poem is, a remnant of ancient legends and lore about hell and how many realms it has, and a lot of that has to do with Jewish midrash, because forget you guys like to put shit in where it don't belong. That's all I'm saying. Midrash is the Zohar is completely crazy and confusing and maddening, really, and you have to read it 700 times to really get anything. But you have to understand a lot of it is midrash. It's shit they put in, and symbols and whatnot to explain shit, the darker side of the tree of life. It's not taught everywhere, but Jewish mysticism, they do, and the Jews are really famous for their midrash. So it's whatever. But it's because you're going into the realm of water, because you have to pass through the abyss to get there, go over the abyss to get there, the intenseness of the darkness just hits you in the face, and the abyss has been turned into a pit of hell. And the pit of hell, you know, sounds like a torturous, horrible, dark, awful, miserable, screaming at each other place. Or, you know, it could be not at all what you expected, but still miserable. Like the Robin Williams movie, What Dreams May Come. Robin Williams. That movie, I sobbed hysterically. Like, I don't even remember how old I was. I was crying hysterically at the end of that movie. But, you know, it's Robin Williams, and he, you know, he's living through the transition, you know, of death into the next life, and, you know, out of the body, and giving up the earthly life, you know, and he gets to his realm of heaven, which is all light and beautiful and everything he imagined and everything he wanted it to be. And he runs into his children, who look different, you know, because they look like whatever they want to, and they guide him through, you know, the transition process, and people that he really cared for in his life, you know, and everyone's there and it's happy, but, you know, his wife's not there. She's still in her body on earth, and he's watching her, he's paying attention, you know, he's haunting her, really. He's really just trying to comfort her, but it's really just causing her harm. She eventually kills herself because she really couldn't get through it without him. You know, they'd lost their kids in a car wreck 2 years before that, 3 years before that, something like that, and then he died, you know, and she was lost, you know. She just lost her kids and her husband, and she doesn't know what to do, and she goes into, I don't know if it's addiction or just deep depression, and she has this just, you know, suicide situation going on. And you know, Robin Williams is in his heaven, and he's like, all right, well, I'm going to get my wife. And they're like, no, you can't, you know, she went into hell. She's a suicide. Suicides go to hell. That's what happens when you know, give up the life you were given. You go to hell, and da-da-da-da. And he's like, well, let's go get her. And they're like, oh yeah, no, you can't go to the abyss and get her. Sorry. And he's like, well, look, you might not, but I can, or I'm gonna die trying. So I'm gonna do this. You know, it's another adventure, and you don't just rest when you're there. You have a life to live. You know, you make decisions. You have will there. And he was like, I'm going. You can either sit your ass here, or you can come with me, but I'm going. I'm going to get my wife. I'm going into the pits of hell to get my wife, and it's not heaven without her. It never could be. And he goes into hell, and he's like, you know, his guide is his son, and his son is like Cuba Gooding Jr. Oh my God, he was so good in that movie. And his son was just like, all right, Dad, let's go get Mom. Let's do this. You know, there's a way. It's kind of illegal, but if we hurry, we can do it. And, you know, they pick up his little sister, and now the kids are going to get Mom with Dad, and it's crazy, and they go to hell, and, you know, they warn him. They're like, you know, this place is, the energy of this place is chaos. For the mind to get lost in chaos, there's no coming back, you know, like you'll be stuck here. You came here voluntarily, and you still might not be able to leave. So the longer you stay here, the longer that's possible. Chill the fuck out. And he's like, okay, I got you, you know. But he goes and he gets his wife and finds her, and she's just crazy. She's in their house, you know, just crazy. She's just crazy, you know, and it's chaos. It's just chaos of her mind, and it's all of her fears, you know. He brings her back to heaven with him, to his version of heaven, you know, which he painted himself, or she painted in life, because she was a painter. But, you know, it really tells about the abyss and how people see it. And all of that is a vision that stretched out from this poem by Dante Alighieri. And it's gone into, like, a really crazy amount of seriousness at this point. Like, people really believe it. And the church preaches it, which is crazy, because they know where it came from. Anyway, you know, you could thank Aleister Crowley and, you know, like those assholes. But that's not what the Hermetic Kabbalah teaches. You know, it's just an empty shell, so it could be anything. It could literally be, you know, a beetle's empty body. You know, anything could be an empty shell. So it's not evil inherently, but it shows you, you know, when you make that jump from fire to light, it's a huge slap in the face of just emptiness, you know, leaving that much divine light energy fills you with emptiness. Does that make sense? You are full of empty at this point, because you were so full before, you know, and anything less than that feels completely empty, and it's a huge smack in the face. So you jump over the abyss, or you crawl through it, and you come out into the realm of water. And we'll get into that next.